all know the old adage, with age comes a cage. But that doesn't mean you have to sacrifice. Don't get me wrong, I'm a biker through and through, and I'll almost always prefer being on two wheels. But sometimes a four-wheeled pleasure cruise can be more enjoyable in many ways. I've always loved Jeeps. They've always been incredibly capable off-road, and I'm sure they always will be. So maybe the Polaris RZR fits somewhere in between. Side-by-side utility vehicles have been popular with ranchers and hunters for a long time, and when Polaris introduced the RZR in 2008, it offered people a UTV that was more about sport and fun than just a capable workhorse. The sport UTV market has since grown beyond what manufacturers had even dreamed of at the time. The RZR and similar offerings from other brands offer unrivaled off-road capability, powerful engines, incredible suspension, and above all, the ability to ride and explore the way a bike or ATV can while sitting next to your friends and family. After all, happiness is more real when shared. This is my friend Phil's 2019 RZR. It's a four-seater with a 1000cc sport-tuned engine. These engines rev and perform more like a modern motorcycle engine than a car. Once they get going, and that kick of horsepower pushes you back in your seat, the rush of exhilaration sets in. The rear tires are easy to break loose. Fishtailing and power sliding around corners is so much fun and controllable, it becomes normal. Bumps and whoops in the road that would give you pause in a Jeep are now just an afterthought. Rocks that would give a Jeep driver that jarring spine compression when hit too hard, the RZR just glides over. Babyhead rocks feel like pebbles in the road. Even jumping it becomes possible. Getting some air under the tires when bombing over a sand dune is something I would never even consider in a Jeep. It would almost certainly lead to critical failure, but the landing in a RZR is barely even felt. I'm comparing RZRs to Jeeps because that's all I have experience in. In fact, this was my very first ride in a RZR. I don't think it's a very fair comparison because they are both purpose-built machines for different reasons. I suppose it is a fair comparison in my eyes because I have to think of why I'm out here cruising with friends in the first place. For me, they both have the same purpose. Whether I'm out in a Jeep or a RZR, or any other four-wheeled off-road vehicle for that matter, I'm after pleasure, having a good time with friends, and exploring places that you just can't get to on the pavement. I don't race, I've never been to Baja or King of the Hammers. I'm not saying I wouldn't want to, I'm just saying that comparing these for the goal of the average weekend is fair in that whether I'm in a Jeep or in a RZR, I'm accomplishing the same task with a different tool. So perhaps I'm contradicting myself, but let's analyze. Both have four-wheel drive. Both are built to go off-road. Both can be an open-top convertible experience. Both have 4 seats. Both can slow crawl through a rock garden and also do highway speeds. Both are street legal, at least here in Arizona. Both are similar in cost in the used market at least. The most obvious difference for me is speed. The RZR is built to be able to safely and more comfortably handle rougher terrain at a faster speed than a Jeep. Now a Jeep can be modified to be able to handle rough terrain just as fast as any RZR, but it takes a lot of money and time in the fab shop. And then you may have the ultimate off-road weapon, but you've lost the biggest advantage the Jeep had on the RZR in the first place. That is the ability to also be your comfortable everyday driver. The fact that you can commute to work all week in a Jeep with your heated seats and your Apple CarPlay, and then put the top down and hit some difficult trails on the weekend is a pretty good compromise. You could go to work or the grocery store in your RZR, but who would want to given the choice? So bottom line difference, performance aside, this distinction makes the RZR a toy and the Jeep a true dual-purpose vehicle. People may argue in the comments, but I'm speaking in generalities. Enough analyzing, Eric. Back to the ride. Phil and his wife Tracy took me along for a cruise down some dirt roads around Sedona, Arizona. Phil drove on this trip, but Tracy loves getting behind the wheel sometimes too. As I settled into the RZR, the seats have big side bolsters hugging my body and holding me in place. All the passenger seats, front and rear, have great grab bars to hold on to. And hold on I did. The power of the 1000cc engine is impressive. I can only imagine what a turbo version would feel like. But I think Phil chose wisely. Especially being his first RZR, forced induction is awesome, but sacrifices some reliability. The roads in Arizona are usually a good mix of sandy and rocky. I immediately found myself bracing and holding on tight when I could see turns and bumps coming. expecting Phil to slow down or else get into real trouble. But as we slid around corners and skipped over rocks, I started to relax more, realizing I'm not in a Jeep. This thing can handle it. After the first few obstacles were overcome with ease, my butt unpuckered and my hands relaxed on the grab bar. Time to sit back and enjoy the ride. Phil knows what he's doing. This isn't his first time out, and we weren't on any ledge roads. Plus, if we did get into trouble, the roll cage is robust and we're all strapped into the seats with harness seat belts. Not that I'd want to test them though. The scenery was epic. Sedona is a magical place. I love the contrast of the green junipers and the manzanitas against the red rock backdrop. The rock formations are beautiful, surreal compared to any other place on Earth. Most dirt roads lead to something interesting also, like ancient Indian ruins or a canyon overlook. Any fool with four-wheel drive can get to these places, but like a dirt bike, the RZR gets there fast. Driving a truck to a remote trailhead can be a chore in itself, but the RZR makes the journey light and fun. And if you're not an adrenaline junkie, you don't have to go fast in a RZR. I've seen some people just putt along in them. The RZR really drives home the fact that it's about the journey, not the destination. It's about the drive itself, not where you're trying to get to. And unlike a bike, it's about sharing that experience. I was happy to be there, meeting new people. Like Jeeps and motorcycles, there's no shortage of friends and clubs that have RZRs too. We were out that day with Phil and Tracy's neighbors that also have a RZR. The ride was great, but it was nice to stop for an occasional break and talk, enjoy a beverage, have some laughs, and soak up the scenery. I love talking shop with people about their rides, learning how they've modified them and what they plan to do next, and also reminiscing about where we had just been and what we'd seen. Oh my gosh, did you spot that eagle? Or, man, the one section of road was a blast. Then we saddle up and hit the road for some more fun, maximum smiles per gallon. What a fun day. I'm looking forward to some more RZR rides with Phil and Tracy. I'll always invite them jeeping with Ryan and I also, but it would be like the tortoise and the hare traveling together. One would be always trying to keep up and the other would be waiting a lot. Regardless, it's always nice to spend time together. Maybe next time I'll take the bike and see if he can keep up with me then.